All right, go ahead, Juan.
All right, hello everyone. I'm Juan Jimenez. I am running for SA Treasurer. I am currently a junior pursuing my Bachelor of Science in Business Administration with 2 concentrations, one of them being International Business and the other one Financial Analysis. I am also pursuing a minor in Mandarin Chinese. I have been working in the finance department for a year now. I have been working closely with Sid and I have seen a lot of his strengths and weaknesses, mostly weaknesses, and I've been paying a lot of attention to those weaknesses. I am in constant approach with all of the clubs, and they have expressed to me all of the bad things that have been going on in finance and what they want to be worked on for next year. One of them being approachability. Sid is really not around the office enough to really meet their needs, and also our whole program to run POs is very slow right now. It takes about 3 to 5 days to get a PO going, and that's not accounting any issues that could be encountered throughout the whole process. I want to lessen the time that it takes for this process because clubs need their money, and if they're running an event and they don't have their money, then that event isn't going to happen. That is one of my main concerns. I've been doing a lot of research in different student associations across the country, specifically the University of Vermont, and I wanted to talk about their tier system. I don't know if you guys got a copy of the platform, but okay, and if the other candidates have talked about it, but I want to talk specifically about the finance side. Right now, every club has a 50% of their budget that they have to raise for fundraising. I think that is very unfair for certain clubs who have a larger budget, upwards to $35,000 to $40,000, such as BSU. Requiring a club to raise $15,000 to $20,000 is a little unrealistic, and it's putting a lot of demands on these clubs. I think it's much easier for the smaller clubs to meet these demands, but they could also run more events at a time. So what we're going to do is, depending on their budget, smaller clubs will be required to run more events, but required to fund less money, such as Step Troop. They have a budget of $3,500. They would be required to have the 50%. They would be required to have the 50%, but they wouldn't be required to have as many events because of their size of the club and what they're engaged in. But BSU, they can fundraise less money and have way more events with their size. Another system that I wanted to put in effect, by the way, all these systems have been checked. I've checked with a lot of the pro staff to see the feasibility of these projects, specifically with Steven from the finance department. Is that?
You have 30 seconds.
Oh, okay. One of these is land tracks. I wanted to pretty much notify clubs when their POs are ready, because a lot of these clubs are coming into the office just to ask if their PO is ready. That's really not efficient. They're wasting their time, and it could be utilized in other things. Another thing would be to add more preferred vendors, such as international markets for the international clubs. And I also want to work with Subboard Inc. to be able to submit receipts electronically. They would still need an original copy, but they could submit this electronic copy ahead of time and save a lot of time and have their money and their budget on time.
First question, Brian.
Sid partied with Nick Johns, had this idea of transparency and working with the website to get all of their budget and funds up on there so students can see how SA funds are being spent. I was just curious, I saw on your bullet list there that you do have a proposed website. Do you have any projects to put up the funds that are being spent so students can see?
Right. With the whole land track system, that's pretty much what it emphasizes, is transparency. They're going to be able to see when their POs are ready. There's going to be information about all of their e-board. There's going to be a lot more things that the clubs can utilize and get this information on time.
What about the regular group of students or students who aren't involved with clubs? Are they going to be able to see funds that SA is spending as well?
Absolutely. It'll be accessible to the whole public. There's no reason why we should be hiding anything that's going on in SA. We are here for the students. Of course, we're working with the clubs, but it's for the students, and we want everyone to be able to see this, not just the clubs and the e-board specifically.
Anthony?
Yeah. So, I've heard about the tier system now for the second time from this party, and both times you've brought up BSU and Step Troop, so I can only imagine that you guys plotted out beforehand that you were going to mention both of those examples. Aside from those examples, how are you actually going to go about deciding for each individual club, because we know there's a lot for SA, what the breakdown is going to be for how much money they need to raise percentage-wise of their budget, how many events they're going to have? Are you going to get recommendations from each of these clubs? How much time energy is that going to take for every club? And are you going to do it for every new club that comes up? So aside from these two examples, what exactly is your plan for implementing this tier system?
Okay. First, I just want to say that we use those 2 clubs because our members are involved with those clubs.
I figured as much.
Yeah, okay, and what we're going to do is see like the past 3 years of their budgets and what they have done. We're not going to look at every club, but we're going to try to include at least 3 clubs in each range. So 3 clubs from the 0 to 15,000 range, from 10 to 15,000, then 15,000 to 30,000, and then 30,000 and on. And we're going to see how they've been working the past few years and how much money they've actually been able to fundraise and what kind of issues they have had. And we're going to try to work with this to see a reasonable percentage that they can work with.
Ben.
You obviously have a lot of experience working money within SA, but do you have any sort of experience outside, like an internship?
I do. Well, right now I'm working on an internship for Citibank, but outside involvement, I am the vice president of Tau Kappa Epsilon. I was one of their past treasurers, and one of the things that I worked on while I was their treasurer was they were in a deficit of $20,000. I was able to work with this by cutting a lot of unuseful spending that they were having. I want to do this with SA as well, specifically with the orientation. Right now, well, last semester, it took up $18,000 of our budget. I think this is extremely wasteful, and I'm going to try to find as many areas that I can cut the amount of programs if they are being wasted.
Sam, then Lisa.
My question is about the POs.
Sure.
Have you done research on how to expedite the process, and if so, what do you plan to do to expedite that process?
Okay, well, right now, like I said, one of the main issues is that clubs have no idea where in the process we are. We require a lot of signatures from student life and then subboard, so it's a process that goes back and forth. What we want to do is be able to show the clubs what's going on so they can, if there's ever an issue, out of their part, if they're missing a certain document, they'll be able to know. They don't have to come in and specifically ask what is the issue, because this is going to delay their process, upwards to, who knows, depending on their actions. Another system is the receipt system. After they do run the PO and they do have the spending, we need to check that all their spending wasn't fraudulent. We need to check on every single expenditure. By giving an electronic copy ahead of time, we could have this all set by the time that they bring in the original copy.
Lisa.
What are the strengths and weaknesses you see in Sid, and what's the main thing you want to change?
Okay, the main one is just his availability. Every single day I have people, stacking up the whole finance side saying, "Where is Sid?" I have, 5 club members that said they had a meeting with him and he hasn't been there on time, or he just straight up didn't show up. What I want to do and what I currently do for my fraternity is I post my whole schedule on Google Docs, on Google Calendar, and I'm going to have a certain block every day that I know for sure I'm going to be in the office. That way clubs can specifically contact me and tell me, that they want to meet at that certain time, and there won't be an issue that I won't be in the office or that there's going to be a mix-up where I have other responsibilities.
Final question.
Oh, and another thing, just for a weakness that I saw in Sid, he did not sign his POs on time. One of the features that he didn't really utilize, and I don't even think he knew about, was the fact that there is an application that you can use on your phone to accept POs. This could be done anytime during class or whenever you have any free time. You don't have to specifically set up on a desk and start accepting POs. You can do it straight from your phone, and this will speed up the process by a lot. Okay.
Emma.
So you want to bring orientation back to campus, reducing the cost by about $8,000 approximately, but then you also want to have a team building outing in the Buffalo area. Have you thought about how much that would cost?
We have not looked into specifics, just because we don't want to propose something that's out of our bounds. Like I said, we try to check with a lot of the pro staff about the feasibility, and nothing on here isn't not realistic. Everything can be put into effect immediately after we get into office, if that's the case. I do also want to include some workshops, specifically treasurer workshops. A lot of the clubs don't even know the whole PO system during club orientation. It's not really emphasized, and they have a lot of questions throughout the year that causes a lot of problems with the way they submit POs. So I want to specifically work with the treasurers and guide them step by step on how to do the process. And then also a budget workshop, this is all aside from orientation, but I would have that in the beginning of the spring semester, even late fall semester, so they can be prepared and hand in their budget packets, which are very important for their funding for the next year.
Okay. Thank you, Juan.
All right.